The wind howled through the forgotten streets of the old dockyard, carrying with it the salty tang of the sea. The docks had been silent for years, a place long abandoned and left to decay. Once, these wharfs were alive with the bustle of sailors, merchants, and cargo ships that came from all corners of the world. Now, only rusted cranes and rotting wood remained, echoing the memories of a distant, busier time. But the docks were never truly empty. Local legend spoke of something that still lingered in the shadows, something unseen, but always felt. The townsfolk avoided the area after dark, warning anyone who would listen about strange happenings on the docks. Faint footsteps on empty piers, ghostly figures walking along the water's edge, and whispers, soft, incomprehensible whispers, carried on the wind. The old docks were haunted, they said. Haunted by a phantom who never left. That night, as I made my way down the narrow alley leading to the waterfront, the air grew colder. My heart pounded with anticipation and unease. I had come to uncover the truth behind the legends, armed only with a flashlight, a notebook, and a camera. I had heard the stories, the warnings, but I needed to see for myself. The docks lay ahead, shrouded in mist and mystery, waiting for me to step into their darkened embrace. Before delving into the heart of the ghostly occurrences, it's important to understand the history of the old docks.
Welcome, dear listeners, to another chilling episode of Wicked Whispers, where the shadows come alive and nightmares whisper their secrets.
Built in the mid-19th century, they were once a vital hub for trade, bringing goods from distant shores to the thriving port town. Ships of all sizes would dock here, their crews unloading crates of exotic spices, silks, and treasures from the Far East. But with prosperity came hardship. The docks were notorious for accidents. Men fell into the icy waters during harsh winter storms, their bodies never recovered. Cargo mishandled could crush a man in an instant, and disease often spread like wildfire in the cramped quarters of the ships that moored there. Over the years, these docks had witnessed more than their fair share of death and despair. It was said that some of the souls lost to the waters had never left. As industry moved elsewhere and shipping methods changed, the docks fell into disuse by the late 20th century. Businesses closed, buildings crumbled, and the once vibrant waterfront became a derelict place of broken memories. It was then that the stories of the phantom began to circulate. The first documented sighting of a phantom occurred in the early 1980s, shortly after the docks were abandoned. A night watchman named Henry Saunders, one of the last employees tasked with keeping an eye on the area, reported strange occurrences that he couldn't explain. Henry was a seasoned worker, a man not easily frightened, but the things he witnessed on those lonely nights chilled him to the bone. It started with the sounds. At first, it was faint, just the creaking of the docks as the tide rolled in. But soon, the noises became more distinct. Henry would hear the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps walking across the wooden planks, as though someone was pacing up and down the pier. Yet, every time he shone his flashlight toward the sound, there was no one there. Then came the voices, whispers carried on the wind, too quiet to understand, but persistent. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, surrounding him, filling his ears with a low, eerie murmur. Henry's nerves frayed, but he stayed on, determined to finish his shift. One night, as he made his rounds, he saw it. At the end of the longest pier, silhouetted against the dim glow of the moonlight, stood a figure. It was tall, dressed in what appeared to be an old-fashioned coat, the kind sailors wore long ago. The figure stood perfectly still, staring out at the water. Henry called out, but there was no response. He moved closer, but as he approached, the figure simply vanished, disappearing into thin air as though it had never been there at all. Terrified, Henry resigned from his job the next day. But his story spread quickly through the town, and soon others came forward with similar tales. The most popular theory about the phantom is that it is the restless spirit of a sailor named Jack Marlowe. Jack was a dock worker who lived in the town in the late 1800s. By all accounts, he was a good man, well-liked by his peers, and known for his hard work and dedication. He spent most of his days down at the docks, unloading ships and helping to keep the bustling trade running smoothly. But Jack's life was cut tragically short one stormy night. According to local lore, Jack had been working late, helping to secure a ship that had arrived just ahead of a violent storm. The winds were fierce, and the waves crashed against the pier with a terrible force. In the chaos, Jack lost his footing and fell into the freezing waters below. Despite the efforts of his colleagues, his body was never found. Some say he was pulled out to sea, while others believe he became trapped beneath the pier, his body entangled in the ropes and debris that littered the dock. It wasn't long after Jack's disappearance that strange things began to happen. Workers reported seeing a figure walking the length of the dock late at night, always in the same spot where Jack had fallen. Others claimed to hear the sound of someone struggling in the water, followed by a faint cry for help that would echo through the still night air. Jack's spirit, it seemed, had never left the docks. Some believe that he continues to walk the piers, unable to rest, still searching for a way back to shore. His presence has become an integral part of the dock's ghostly folklore, and many who visit the site at night claim to have seen or felt his ghostly figure nearby. In the 1990s, a series of disappearances near the old docks reignited fears about the paranormal activity in the area. The most infamous of these cases involved a group of tourists who had come to the town to explore its historic waterfront. The group, comprised of 4 friends, had heard the stories about the haunted docks and decided to investigate for themselves. One foggy evening, they ventured down to the waterfront, armed with cameras and a sense of adventure. The night started uneventfully enough as they wandered the empty streets and took photographs of the decaying buildings. But as they approached the docks, the atmosphere changed. The air grew colder, and the fog thickened, making it difficult to see more than a few feet ahead. According to a lone survivor of the group, they began hearing strange sounds, footsteps, faint whispers, and the unmistakable creaking of the wooden piers. The group joked nervously about the stories they had heard, but their laughter soon turned to fear when they saw a figure standing at the end of the dock. It was the phantom, tall, imposing, and motionless. The friends stared in disbelief as the figure slowly turned to face them. Panic set in, and they began to retreat, but the fog closed in around them, and one by one, they disappeared into the mist. Search parties were sent out the next morning, but no trace of the missing tourists was ever found. Their disappearance remains unsolved to this day, but many locals believe they were claimed by the phantom of the old docks, joining the ranks of those who never left. In the years that followed, the docks became a hotspot for paranormal investigators and thrill seekers. Teams of ghost hunters descended on the site, eager to capture evidence of the supernatural. Some brought advanced equipment, such as thermal cameras, electromagnetic field detectors, and audio recording devices, while others relied on more traditional methods, like seances and spirit boards. The results of these investigations were chilling. Many reported seeing shadowy figures walking along the piers, their movements barely visible through the fog. Others captured eerie sounds on their audio equipment, faint voices, footsteps, and even the sound of something splashing in the water. One investigation, conducted by a renowned paranormal team, yielded some of the most compelling evidence to date. While setting up their cameras, the team captured a full-body apparition walking along the dock. The figure appeared to be dressed in old-fashioned clothing and seemed to glide rather than walk. The footage was analyzed by experts, who were unable to debunk it as a hoax. In addition to visual evidence, the team also captured several EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, recordings. In one chilling clip, a voice could be heard saying, "Help me," followed by the sound of splashing water. Another recording picked up a low, gravelly voice whispering, "Go away." Despite the mounting evidence, no one has been able to explain the paranormal activity at the old docks. Some believe the ghostly figure is Jack Marlowe, while others think it could be the spirits of the sailors who perished in the waters surrounding the dockyard. Whatever the truth may be, the phantom continues to haunt the area, leaving behind a legacy of fear and fascination.